Welcome to Fear and Hunger Termina, where I dissect Fear and Hunger and Termina together. I'm doing this because I was watching a Let's Player and a couple others. I let my friends try the game, and they seem to have a really hard time with the game itself. I put in some tips here to help some people out if they need it. So the first step you need to understand about Fear and Hunger and Termina is failure will happen, but you control how much it actually happens. I mean this as, when you go through the world and you start learning, you start understanding, you start fighting creatures, there's a set rhythm that they all play through. And if you can understand that, if you understand the dangers of what you're fighting, how much punishment you can actually take, failure probably won't happen. If you understand those couple variables. But generally that's not even enough. So the second step to beating this game is understanding the items and skills is basically the difference between life and death. If you can't tell me what the difference between a blue herb and a green herb is, you need to go in there and review every little detail because it helps you out tremendously. Because an infection in this game can kill you in a matter of how many different areas you transfer. I've lost so many characters because I was just in a battle, I didn't realize I got an infection because in the battle screen, it doesn't cover all of the negative debuffs you just received, at least in Fear and Hunger 1. I think in Termina it's going to do better, but please, after battle, just look, because you could lose a character. I can't stress this enough. But yes, looking at your items, the different weapons, the different accessories you have is the difference between life and death. Because if you don't understand that, you will not understand a lot of different things happening within the world and how to beat certain enemies. So that brings us to our third step, utilizing soul stones and hexen tables. They are uber important. They are super important. I can't stress this enough for late game, because in Fear and Hunger 1, hexen tables are very rare. Now in Termina, the creator of the game made it very easy for you to access this since you can just sleep and have access to the hexen table. Why this wasn't a feature in the first game, I have no idea, because I only found 2, and they were in the beginner area of the game. Well, not necessarily. One in the beginner area, and then I found one in the 4th or 5th level, guarded by the armor. It's not a spoiler because they are so well hidden. But yes, utilize those because some of those skills is the difference between life and death. I cannot stress that enough. You have to find the soul stones. They're pretty rare in Fear and Hunger 1. In Termina, they're fairly simple to get if you make sacrifices to the older gods. I'll give you that hint, at least. But they're incredibly important. Utilize them to the fullest of their abilities. Anyways, so these last 2 steps, the most important ones. So step 4 is more party members will make you a raid boss. This is so important because this is what I saw the live streamers and my friends having trouble with, because your companions are hidden within the world. Termina makes this harder since now you have to use time to find them. And the only way you advance time is you sleep, which people don't seem to understand correctly. Because as more time goes by, certain companions will be lost, or they're just not there at that certain time interval. So it's really confusing to people. And sometimes it won't even be a time, like a time of day thing, it'll be the next day thing, and they'll only be there for that day. And when you have such a vast world to explore, not saying Termina is completely huge, but it's a lot, and most players will not go out and find these people. But if you do, the more people you find, the bigger your companions will become in strength, and you will essentially turn into this raid boss. I have a video here of this Nasus just being a complete raid boss of a person, and that's what you want to strive for all your characters to be, is this raid boss that can just deal some damage. And that brings me into my final point. Choose your fights carefully, and if you do that, you'll win. It just is as simple as that. The Moon-Scorched Cannibals is what I'm going to point out to you, since I've seen a lot of my friends die to them. They're very simple. Once you understand how much HP they have, it's 2 hits to the chest and it just kills them. Or if you take out their legs, 1 hit will just take out their head. Or even the Woodsman. I'm strictly talking Termina. If you take out the legs of the Woodsman, his next turn, his head will be vulnerable. One character could take him out. 1 strike to the head, just dead. That's a mini boss, just dead. So if you have a bear trap and you're the doctor, which I did before, it will just kill him immediately. Same will work with the priest in the mayor's house in Termina. But this also works for Fear and Hunger 1. If certain human characters will lose balance if you cut their legs, but some monsters won't. So you need to pick your fights carefully, and you have to utilize the skills of your companions as well. I mean this as the mechanic has throw pipe wrench. So if she does that, there's a chance that it will stun your target, whether that be a hand or something, and that's super important because when I was fighting the mayor, it stunned his knife arm for I think 2 turns, which is pretty big when you have 3 other companions that can do damage. So I took out his fork arm. He can't use his knife arm for the longest time, so we just took out that one, then we focused on the knife arm. She's out of the game for at least 2 turns because she needs a weapon to equip with. But anyways, those are my 5 tips to help people if they're really struggling with the game and they don't want to resort to the wiki, or if you found my videos some other way. Just understand those 5 things and your playthrough will go a lot better. Also, if you're wondering whether you should even keep playing the game, if you don't like it for the combat, I strongly recommend you complete it, or at least attempt to, because the creator put in multiple endings. There's so many different choices to go down if you want to make your own certain decision on something. I think it's just a fantastic game. It's just a little hard to learn. Also, if you liked what I said, or if you got something out of it, please subscribe. Really appreciate it, and I'll have more content out just like this. So thank you guys. It means a lot. And I wish you guys the best of luck in the dungeons.